A very good afternoon. You're watching Breaking on News 18 with me, Akanksha Swaroop. Now, there seems to be no end to the Israel-Hamas war, which has entered its 8th day today. And the casualties continue to rise. Israeli forces are now maintaining that their bombardment of Gaza, this in response to Hamas's terror attacks. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a statement said that Israel will eliminate Hamas and the counter-offensive is only the beginning. Israel's military has warned more than 1.1 million civilians in northern Gaza to evacuate towards the south of Gaza. In the meantime, WHO has also said that Gaza's health system is at a breaking point and that time is running out to prevent a humanitarian catastrophe. And in an apparent denial of a Human Rights Watch report, the Israeli military has said that it has made no use of white phosphorus in the Gaza war this week. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israeli Defense Minister and members of the Israeli War Cabinet to discuss Israel's current actions to defend itself and the urgent security assistance that is needed for the Israel Defense Forces. And with that, let me quickly bring you some breaking inputs that we are getting in this hour. We are learning that Israel's death toll has further risen to 1,400. Remember, till yesterday we were learning that the death toll was a little less, but overnight reports have now indicated that the Israeli death toll has risen to 1,400. In the meantime, we are also learning that Palestinian death toll is also rising in Gaza. For now, we are learning that the Israeli death toll has risen to 1,400. Remember, it was a week ago that the Hamas attacked Israel, and the death toll continues to rise even 7 days after that gory, horrific attack by Hamas last Saturday. In the latest, we are also learning that CNN has been scanning through the videos, which have also shown how that sudden attack that was made by Hamas, the kind of weaponry that was used by Hamas terrorists. Now reports are indicating that many of those weapons that were used by Hamas terrorists are of Chinese and Russian make as well. For more details, let's quickly go across to Abhishek Jha, international news correspondent who continues to report from ground zero in Israel. Abhishek, the Israeli death toll has risen to 1,400. This after 7 days of the attack. Remember, the war has entered the 8th day. How much is now expected to rise as far as the death toll is concerned?
Well, the death toll is continuously increasing, and even right now when we are talking, there is a heavy warning of upcoming rockets that are being fired from the Hamas side towards the Israeli settlement, and that could be city of Ashkelon, Gaza Strip, and we have been asked to just hide under the safe shelters. Meanwhile, talking about the Gaza city, there has been hundreds of casualties that has been happening in the last 7 days, ever since the Israeli counteroffensive has started on the city. Now we learned that about 1.1 lakh people from the southern Gaza, they have been asked to go towards north, and a safe corridor has been created for like 6 hours from 10 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. And the Israeli forces have indicated that those who love their dear ones, those who want to be safe, they have to use that corridor and move towards north, because a major counteroffensive is in the making, and that could endanger their lives. But at the same time, people there are dealing with a lot of crisis, a crisis of food,
right.
Electricity, and all type of basic amenities are in short supply, and they have to deal with that also. They have to move beyond the danger zone also, and that is a typically very bad situation in Palestine.
Since you mentioned that there's a crisis situation as far as fuel, electricity, even food supplies are concerned, you are in Israel currently. Abhishek, important to take us through how Israel is battling this crisis as well. At the same time, what are the challenges ahead for the IDF?
Well, it's been 7 days. Today is the 7th day since the first attack had happened by the Hamas terrorists, when hundreds of Hamas terrorists actually came inside, infiltrated in the various part of the southern Israeli territory. Several settlements were targeted by them. And first 24 to 48 hours, one could imagine the entire Israel government, people, politics, forces, everybody was grappling with the thought that the defense was so weak and it was so badly jeopardized by the Hamas militants. But then now, since they have grappled up with the situation, the focus is on to counter offensive and also to ensure the defense line of entire Gaza continues to be strong. And at the same time, we have seen political upheaval also.
Right.
Initially, Benjamin Netanyahu was criticized a lot, but then a unity government has been formed, which is taking most of the decision about the
all right,
upcoming
Abhishek, I'm
war
so sorry
policy.
to interrupt you there. We have some more breaking inputs coming in as far as Israel-Hamas war is concerned. Remember, there were fears of a spillover effect, and in the latest breaking input that we are bringing to you right now, we are learning that Saudi Arabia is pausing talks on normalization deal with Israel. Remember, this was the normalization deal that was being brokered in by the United States between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and was expected to be a landmark normalization deal to be brokered in by the United States. Remember, it was some time ago that China had already brokered in a deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which was expected to be, which was being touted as a historic deal. And now this deal was in the making by the United States between Saudi Arabia and Israel. For more details, Abhishek Jha continues to stay with me. Abhishek, take us through the details. What do we make when what do we make of the situation when we learn that Saudi Arabia has paused talks?
Well, the Saudi Arabia and Israel peace or the improvement of bilateral tie would have, brought in a new era in the Gulf peace process or the prosperity. But sadly, that didn't happen right now, and all the peace talks that Saudi was having with Israel has been stopped right now. We know that in Gulf, major countries like UAE, Qatar to some extent, they have already good relationship with Israel. Saudi has been on the other side, and with the Saudi coming into the peace and the bilateral ties in Israel, a lot of geopolitical alignment in the region would have also changed. But with the latest, massacre or the terrorist attack from Hamas, that Saudi has to take a side of Palestine, and that means that it will not have any talk or any engagement with Israeli until and unless Israeli forces stop at least the current massacre, current counteroffensive that is happening on the Gaza and other locations where the Hamas militants are hiding. And the Saudi also has to show its solidarity with the Muslim world, who are mostly united for the cause of Palestine. So that is the first priority that has taken the national interest of Saudi currently, and having a improved bilateral relationship with Israel can totally wait for now. And this is what Israel is also looking ahead. They are not interested in having more bilateral exchanges or improvement of any
Right.
other relation. First priority for them is to ensure that every single militant hideout or every single individual who has been involved in the terrorist activity of Hamas is killed, neutralized, or just removed from the region. So this is the priority that has taken center stage in Israel's politics, and Saudi is, of course, trying to stand and show the solidarity with people of
With the
Palestine
Arab
right
world,
now.
absolutely. That was expected out of Riyadh, and perhaps this is also the spillover effect in West Asia that we have been discussing in the past few days here at CNN News 18, the impact of the Israel-Hamas war in West Asia. Thank you so much, Abhishek. Stay safe. We'll keep coming back to you for more inputs. In the meantime, let's also play out the reactions that have been coming in. To begin with, this is the Israel's defense forces.
We want civilians not to be affected by the war. We didn't put those civilians there. They are not our enemy. We are not trying to kill or injure any civilians. We are fighting against Hamas. That needs to be abundantly clear. We are fighting and targeting Hamas and its military infrastructure wherever it is. That's where we target it, and we have targeted around the Gaza Strip and in the northern part of the Gaza Strip.
रात के 9 बजे हैं और इस वक्त हम लोग तेल अवीव में हैं। इजराइल की आर्थिक राजधानी के तौर पे जाना जाता है और 24 घंटे ये शहर चमकता है, दमकता है। नाइट लाइफ यहाँ की दुनिया भर में जानी जाती है। दुनिया भर के अलग अलग हिस्सों से यहाँ लोग आते हैं। यहूदी आबादी सबसे अधिक है इजराइल में, और इजराइल के मध्य में है तेल अवीव। अगर कोस्टल पूरे एरिया को देखें तो मध्य में पड़ता है। उत्तर से अगर साउथ की तरफ जाएं तो मध्य में तेल अवीव पड़ता है। लेकिन जिस तरह के हालात हैं पूरे इजराइल में, तेल अवीव भी उससे अछूता नहीं है। तेल अवीव में भी मिसाइल से हमले किए जा रहे हैं। इस वक्त आप देख सकते हैं तेल अवीव के सेंटर एरिया में है। रातों भर 24 घंटे, खासकर सुबह 4 बजे तक ये सब सड़कें आम दिनों में लोगों से भरी होती हैं, मस्ती होती है। पब, होटल्स, यहाँ मौजूद हैं, लेकिन अभी किस तरह की स्थिति है, इक्का दुक्का गाड़ियां आपको सड़कों पे दिखेंगी। और ये गाड़ियां, इन गाड़ियों में ये इमरजेंसी मूवमेंट वाली गाड़ियां हैं ज़्यादातर। कुछ लोग जो जिन्हें निकलना ज़रूरी होता है, नहीं तो सारे पब्स मैक्सिमम बंद है। आप देख सकते हैं टेक होम की फैसिलिटी कुछ जगह है, जैसे तेल अवीव में ही इंडियन रेस्टोरेंट है, हम वहाँ मौजूद थे, वहाँ टेक होम की फैसिलिटी थी। और इधर हर तरफ हमारे कैमरा पर्सन आपको हर तरफ हर बिल्डिंग, ये स्ट्रीट्स भरी रहती है यहाँ। आम दिनों में जब वॉर का सिचुएशन नहीं होता, यहाँ लोग सड़कों पर बैठे होते हैं। ये जो आपको बेंचेस दिख रहे हैं, यहाँ लोग बैठे होते हैं। लेकिन स्थिति देख लीजिए किस तरह से बनी हुई है। सायरन की आवाज़ बीच बीच में आती है। हालांकि सड़कों पे लोग नहीं है, लेकिन इक्का दुक्का लोग जो रहते हैं वो छुप जाते हैं। लेकिन गाड़ियों की संख्या, मुंबई जिस तरह से हिंदुस्तान में हैपनिंग सिटी के तौर पे जाना जाता है, वहाँ की नाइट लाइफ भी देर तक होती है, गगनचुंबी इमारतें होती हैं, वो यहाँ हम लोग रुके हुए देख सकते हैं कितना सन्नाटा है। इस तरह की कल्पना भी नहीं की जा सकती थी तेल अवीव में कि ऐसा होगा। हाँ, हमारे साथ हमारे पायलट हैं, उनसे हम बातचीत करेंगे। योर गुड नेम?
My name is Moshe.
Moshe, this is happening city. Any time in your life have you seen such situation in Tel Aviv?
No, this city is never stop all day long, 24/7. You have people, but now, as you can see, it's very slow, and the people are staying at their home. War situation, yes.
But it is on the center. You are from southern part of, you are from एस्केलोन। आपको बता दें कि हमारे साथ मोशे जो हैं एस्केलोन से हैं। एस्केलोन से ये हमें पिक करते हैं तेल अवीव से, फिर हमें एस्केलोन लेकर जाते हैं, क्योंकि बहुत सारी गाड़ियां हैं वो एस्केलोन और दक्षिणी भाग में नहीं जाती। और ये देखिए एक बार फिर शहर आपको दिखा दें। मोशे बता रहे थे कि कभी ये शहर रुकती नहीं है, अभी रेंग रही है। रेंगना भी नहीं कहेंगे, स्लो कहना तो उचित नहीं होगा। मोशे ने स्लो कहा। All the time full.
Yeah.
All the time full.
This street, Rothschild Street, all the time full of people, restaurant, pubs. This city is never stopped. Tel Aviv is a very serious city. Yes.
हमें ये भूमध्य सागर की तरफ भी ले जा रहे हैं। Are you taking us to Mediterranean Sea?
Yeah, we will go and see the sea now. And you will see over there is a lot of restaurants, a lot of pubs that all the time are full.
On the coastal line also there are a lot of pubs and restaurants, but all are empty.
You see that the street is empty now, yeah.
देख सकते हैं, आपको बस दिखाने का मकसद ये है कि रात के 9 बजे तो इस तरह की कल्पना भी यहाँ कोई नहीं कर सकता था। जो शहर 4 बजे तक जो मस्ती में झूमता है, गाता है, वो यहाँ किस तरह की स्थिति है। जो गाड़ियाँ सड़कों पे आपको मुख्य मार्ग से, जहाँ से हम लोग आ रहे हैं एस्केलोन से, अभी वहाँ से आते वक्त सड़कों पे आपको गाड़ियाँ दौड़ती हुई देखेंगे। लेकिन आम दिनों में गाड़ियाँ बहुत होती हैं चलने, लेकिन यहाँ की स्थिति देखिए, शहर के मध्य में हम लोग हैं, लेकिन हर जगह सन्नाटा। हम लगातार चल रहे हैं। अब तक हम लोग जितनी देर भी आपने हमें देखा है इस वीडियो में, आपने गौर किया होगा, तब से लेकर अब तक कहीं भी कोई ऐसी जगह नहीं है कि आपको कोई भी भीड़ भाड़ समूह में लोग मस्ती करते नजर आए। हर एरिया में, हर जगह आपको सन्नाटा दिखेगा। पूरा का पूरा इजराइल घोस्ट सिटी के तौर पे तब्दील हो गया है।
Raj, if you could please elaborate a little bit what exactly happened and how did these militants reach your locality and what all they did?
First of all, they are not militants, they are terrorists. And
Okay.
second of all, my neighbors were not killed, they were brutally murdered by terrorists. As you mentioned, my community is very close to the border. So actually to where I live, the 6 armed terrorists reached at the first step of the attack as kind of a decoy for the whole massive attack. And they came with motorized parachutes, like paragliders. So
Okay.
they got above the border. 3 of them landed in 3 different locations in the community, carrying 6 fully armed, fully geared terrorists. That time was 6:40 in the morning. Since they landed, they started running through the community. They, as I said, they landed in 3 prearranged locations in 3 sites of the community and started marching in directions, walking door to door. Anybody who got in their faces were murdered, and then they started entering house by house, slaughtering, butchering, murdering innocent individual. The youngest one was 17 and the oldest one was 85, in their houses, in their beds, in cruel act of barbarism that even after shooting, each one of the victims was shot in the head multiple times, up to a time it's very hard to even identify the bodies. And that took place all day long, starting Saturday 6:40 in the morning and all the way down to late afternoon until the army actually got there and got a hold of the situation.
Have you ever experienced Hamas terrorists ever before, or perhaps have ever witnessed any sort of a minor terror strike or anything in your locality before?
Not even in our wildest dreams we have imagined something like that. I'm part of the immediate response team of the community, and we trained in different scenarios. And our worst case scenario was maybe a couple of terrorists trying to jump the fence or entering via a tunnel. But to be a part of that huge operation when a couple of terrorists, and as soon after was cleared, not only in my community, but over 1,000 entered all around Israel, and basically caught us off guard, and the army did not have enough power to fight them all, and we civilians actually had to fight them ourselves. Now, it's something we didn't expect in our wildest dreams. We've seen violence. My community is targeted always on a monthly basis by Hamas shooting missiles at us. We all have bomb shelters in our houses, and we are used to being a danger, kind of, but nothing like that.
How did you manage to escape that place, that situation, and reach Jerusalem?
Well, that's even a worse story. When this whole thing started, I was out for a weekend with friends. When the news started getting in, my son was alone in the house. So my son had to go through this whole 10 hours locked inside our bomb shelter in the house. He locked the whole house. When he was hearing constant shelling of mortars and bombs shot by Hamas. And all of that time, I cannot come back home because everything was under fire. The first time I saw my son is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, after 10 hours of him hiding for his life in the bomb shelter, without even having the option to go to the bathroom or anything. And as a parent, there's nothing worse you can do. I only came back to the community the day after, in Sunday, to find the horrendous leftovers of what was taken care of the day before.
Now, about 1.1 million people living in northern Gaza have been asked to leave in the next 24 hours. The Israeli military has said that it would take longer than that, and that Hamas is also instigating people to ignore the call that's being sent out by the Israeli army. The Palestinian president has also compared this to the second Nakba. How do you react to appeals that Israel's ultimatum to Gaza must be reversed because the time for them to evacuate Gaza is too less?
I think the question that we need to be asking here is, why is Hamas preventing their civilians from leaving when Israel is clearly taking, the IDF is clearly taking as much precaution as possible to avoid civilian casualties? The IDF has sent leaflets, has warned the Gazan civilians in that area to leave because they know that Hamas intentionally buries its arsenal, has all of their intelligence, is sending out their rockets from these dense populated areas in Gaza. And the IDF is intentionally saying, get out. And the question we should really be asking here is, why is Hamas putting not only Israeli civilians in harm's way and killing Israeli civilians, but intentionally putting their civilians and the people that they are governing in Gaza inside in the way?
Right. Lieutenant, we are learning that Israel has also amassed soldiers near Gaza ahead of this expected ground offensive into the entire Gaza enclave. By when is Israel expected to launch the Gaza ground offensive?
There's nothing that I can say particular to that, but I do want to say that we are ready to do whatever it takes to ensure that Hamas doesn't have the capabilities that they, in order to attack Israel again. So whatever means that will take, we are ready for it. We are preparing for it. And when the government of Israel does decide to make whatever decision it needs to take, we, the IDF, are prepared to follow through with that.
Lieutenant, why is there suspicion of Iranian involvement, and what's the risk of Iran now being involved in this entire fight?
Iran has been funding Hamas for many years. We are asking that nobody else other than Hamas is involved in this. We are saying that we are not intending to have any conflict right now beyond our intention and our determination to ensure Hamas does not have its abilities to do this again. That being said, we do know where Hamas gets their funding, and we do know why Hamas was able to carry out such an attack.
You're already gearing up for what looks like a massive military operation, including this ground offensive in the Gaza Strip. Of course, urban fighting is going to be incredibly dangerous for your troops as well as the Palestinian civilians. Is there a possibility that your country will fight on two fronts, one with Hamas and Hezbollah, the other with Iran? What are the military challenges ahead for Israel?
Right now, we are ensuring and making sure that our civilians inside of Israel are safe, as well as all of our borders are safe. We are ready for whatever challenge we will have to face.
The U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has told Israeli leaders today that U.S. has your back, as has Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the U.S. President. Reports are also indicating that the U.S. President and Congress are crafting a $2 billion aid package. But it also raises questions if Washington can ramp up defense aid to Israel without jeopardizing aid for Ukraine.
I think that there are many opportunities to support freedom, to support the humanity and the humane governments and humane countries. And I think the United States, and we thank the United States for their support and for whatever they are doing to stand up against brutal terrorist regimes as they have with Israel.
How do you weigh in on these appeals of restraint that have been made, including by the UN, even the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who was visiting your country? At the same time, the former politicians of Israel have said that they could have, former Prime Minister of Israel has also said that they could have perhaps tackled the Gaza situation in a different manner. How do you react to such reports and appeals that are being made for restraint?
We are doing whatever we can right now to ensure the safety and security of Israelis, both in Israel as well as those that have been taken hostage and brutally kidnapped by Hamas. We are doing what we can again and what we must as the Israel Defense Force to defend the people of Israel.
I know that Israel is going to crush Hamas. You are prepared for it, but are you also prepared for a wider conflict?
We are prepared for whatever we need to be prepared for.
We've been talking about how major counteroffensive is being planned from the Israeli side, and both the kind of aerial power or superiority that Israeli defense forces have. They have been targeting Gaza and the military hideouts, and behind me was targeted at Hamas location in Gaza Strip that has hit some target, and the blowing smoke or this plume of smoke that you are seeing is result of that that missile launch that has been from the Israeli Defense Forces side. From where we are standing, about 1 kilometer from there, entire stretch is filled with tanks and other armored vehicles which are back-to-back targeting Israeli, Hamas locations in Gaza. People in Gaza, about 1.2 to 3 million people, they have been asked to vacate the southern or the northern Gaza and move towards southern Gaza, so that when the major offensive or the territorial offensive will be started by the Israeli side, there would be less number of civilian that would be under the pressure of Israeli targets or Israeli firing. And this is how the situation has been evolving here. It is a very typical war zone where situation is very unpredictable, and we have seen several soldiers also staying nearby, and they have been the lines of vehicles or the soldiers, they are pretty much also present here also, and with the kind of incessant firing that is going on from the Israeli side, it doesn't look like Hamas will be able to hold it for a very long time because of the superiority, because of the preparedness, and because of the unprecedented support also that the Israeli government is getting from all quarters, from all around the world.